We are now streaming. Hello, everyone. As I always say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in around the world. We are live with one of the leading entertainment advisors based on the East Coast, Brian Glick, also known as the Covert Connector. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here. I'd love to just dive right into this. You have a really unique company name. Would you be willing to tell us about what is the Covert Connector? What does it mean to be an entertainment advisor, and what do you do?
Oh, well, that's definitely something to touch base on, and it's great to finally connect and be on here. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. Well, the Covert Connector comes from kind of like uh, basically think of me your guide and guide to the music scene, and I am a detective for the entertainers. Basically, I am behind the scenes looking at things and making connections happening. Basically, Covert Connector is what I came up with an advisor a couple of years ago, and it's basically the fact that I cater to the entertainment industry. I'm an advocate for them, but I'm not usually in front of the camera. Well, now I am due to the pandemic and just things going on. But my goal is to basically connect artists to the proper resources that they need to succeed. And I do it covertly, I'm like, right, see me now, kiss me now. Yeah, so that's basically how and what I do.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been in the entertainment industry and, working with artists?
It's been a dog's age. I've been doing it probably about like 10 years now. I actually broke into it like by mistake. I had no intentions of doing it. I walked into a bar, the bartender's like, "Hey, you want to put on a show?" I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And it just like snowballed into like first being a promoter and just hosting shows. And I'm like, all right, I got to learn about this industry. And then I took on a couple management promotion roles. And I was like, I really want to dig in and affect the industry more instead of just, it's so one dimensional to host a show and be there. But these artists, these entertainers, they need so much more than just, a gig. They need support. They need people that can help them. They need people that can direct them to the proper channels.
I'm curious, how has your business and the entertainment industry as a whole been impacted with this pandemic? I mean, with us not being able to have concerts, music festivals, everything, how is that going for you as an advisor, and how are your artists being affected?
It's really hard, especially being in New York. A lot of places have impacted, but like I know where you are in California has really been impacted, and me in New York especially. But before the pandemic, it was all great. I was touring around with artists, going through the country, hosting shows, advising them on how to better their, stage appeal, get them, different like different gigs, and if they need a producer, if they need this, that, like it was easy, it was simple, not easy, but like but it was like systematic. You're like, okay, I got this covered, I got that covered, this is all by playbook. I write a venue, say, hey, do you have a gig? If not, you call the venue, show up. And it was just like regular stuff. Then boom, the pandemic hits, and the world was crushed. Artists fell into this deep depression, and you just read on like social media just like, oh my god, this is horrible. And like nobody knew what to do, nobody knew where can you play, how can you play, very discouraged. Some people want to give up, some people like, I want to do something but I'm not sure what. So I hit my breaking point, and like I just threw everything away. I unfortunately lost my clients, because they just did what they did. And I'm like, all right, I have to reinvent. If you're not, with the times, you have to figure it out. So I decided to go forward with the idea of consulting and really advising and also advocating. So I started, just revamping everything. I called different people in the industry, asked them, what are you doing? I found you who does streaming, other people that do streaming. I started calling politicians and being, yo, what the hell is up, man? Like, New York is in shambles. Do you have a plan? Do you not have a plan? And they're like, and it's just like, I was baffled. So I'm like, I saw nobody was innovating, nobody was doing anything, nobody was taking charge. So I'm like, that's it. I'm doing something. I'm gonna, throw the old textbook out. I'm gonna use all my rich and deep connections, see what they're doing, and see what's happening on the new front and rein that in.
Thanks for that, Brian. What would you advise for, we have a lot of influencers, we have entertainers, musicians in this group. What can they do right now in this, virtual space that we're all in?
Well, not to knock Facebook, but Facebook kind of like threw us under the rug and said, you know what, streaming is not going to be the best bet. We're going to prohibit that. They're not like saying, they're basically burying the algorithms if you're streaming. There are a lot of third-party companies that are around that do streaming, but there's also things like sync licensing, merchandising. You could sell your stuff online. Also doing like collaborations with the other artists. Just a lot of different options. You could create, videos and endorsements and affiliate programs, and just build upon that. Come up with unique ideas. Align yourself with another company that's doing something that is, along your realm, and attach onto them. I actually hooked up with the company Limelight, and we are going, basically, yes, I know, I love those guys. So we're trying to do hybrid shows. Since you can only pack with at venues to 40, 50 people. Okay, you're not making, in the old days, you pack a venue full, bars running, this and that, and you have all these COVID regulations now and stuff like that. So you have to hear that. So the best way to do it is have the small venue with the people there, and then a streaming source where you can get financial revenue for, you as an artist from the show, the few people that come in. Maybe might have to raise ticket prices that were regularly to do that, but it's going towards people and giving people more jobs. The stage hands, the door guy, the venue. There's also, and then got the streaming app that's gonna basically create a broadcasting system where they'll be able to see it, wherever you are.
Yeah, I got to plug Limelight here. As you know, I got super excited. A lot of people might not be familiar with that app yet. I'll definitely drop a link. I really want everyone to go check it out and, download that in the App Store if you can, because as you know, and I know, being close to Limelight, it is groundbreaking with what they're doing. They're so forward thinking ahead, so that when this pandemic hit, to have this resource for the entertainment industry,
right,
and for artists to continue performing and have an audience, even whether it's a virtual space, whether it's in person, whatever it's going to be. And as any entertainer, as you know, would say, any opportunity to reach an audience, we're going to take it.
Exactly.
In any way, shape, or form. And so to have this app available with, all the other opportunities that offers them, with like having fans and being able to monetize, all of that is so huge and so important now more than ever.
Definitely.
And that hybrid, keeping that hybrid in mind, which I know you are all over moving forward.
Absolutely. And along with the shows, I was like also thinking like, wait, artists were performing, but they don't have all the tools necessary. What about knowing about your finances? What about knowing about how to perform on stage? Your stage presence. If you need somebody to tell you how to choreograph your things, like there's got to be resources for people to get these things. I do like networking meetings on different subjects aside from music in my state. So I meet with people in different professions, and I've just been telling them a little bit about doing, they want in on this action. They want to be able to maybe do like a seminar where we're going to teach you about something that's not music related, but it's something that you need to know for your life in the music. How do you how do you, continue with your craft on other things? What about like the healthcare? Artists never had healthcare. Why can't we advocate for that? Why, like, while I was calling these people in office, some of them were like, whatever, but some were like, listen, we don't know what to do. We're as lost as you are, and we want to hear some input. We want stuff to do. For that, this sucks. It sucks for all the industries, and it's just all it does is pick up a phone, talk, and you can make things happen. Yeah.
So with that, what projects do you have going on right now?
Right now, well,
Mhm.
as we mentioned, Limelight,
Mhm.
we are teaming up, COVID Connector and Limelight, to bring an initiative. I don't think I'm going to announce what it's called yet. I will have that, and I'll have you post that like whole thing once we get that going. But basically, what we want to do is starting in New York, Long Island specifically, because that's where I'm from, and that's who's willing to work with me right now. We're taking one venue agreed right now. I have another venue I'm negotiating with, and we're going to do, like I said, the hybrid shows, and we're going to do small shows at the venue, streaming on Limelight, and creating jobs and revenue, and have COVID safe shows. And then we're going to expand as a whole like platform on this is how we should go forward. This is a template of what could be done if we all work together in like harmony, and like the hypothetical utopian ideal world, instead of clashing heads and having the people over here be like, um, anti-COVID, pro-COVID, we need to not do anything, or we need to go balls to the wall and pack a show. We need to meet somewhere in the middle and be able to, create this, at least for, the majority of people, a way for culture to be brought back. New York was, the epicenter of culture. I'm sorry, the rest of the world, like a lot of people were great, but like, but you had like Broadway, and you had like everything, it was just everywhere. We're going to the city all the time, shows in Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, like any day of the week, anywhere you could go see anything you want, underground, above ground. And it was phenomenal. And that's what I did all the time. I would just go to shows even before I got into the business. I loved going to shows. I've been to every single, venue and type of music or theater or whatever, just because I love the arts, and like I don't want to see that die. And it's like it looks, I don't, people say, it could not be, but like if I could do something about that, I will, and I am.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to die. We're going through just a transition that I don't think we saw coming at the rate that it happened. I know, as you can see, like with Limelight thinking ahead, we were already in a virtual space to a degree,
Right.
right? And then we kind of went into hyperdrive. In fact, I was on a call earlier today with another person in the virtual events industry, Michelle. She's in this group. Shout out to Michelle if she hears me. And we were talking about that, like it just went into hyperdrive, right? Mm-hmm. And so now you're just like, all right, let's keep on moving.
Exactly, it was coming, but like nobody was really prepared to do it at this excessive rate. But yeah, it's just like yeah, it's just
how. No, I agree with you completely. And so I'm curious, did you have anything that really surprised you, during this pandemic time in the industry at all, that you just really honestly didn't see come in, be it for better or for worse?
As far as what do you mean by surprise me? Like, a lot of things surprised me. I think everything surprised me when like.
Yeah, that's fair enough. To be perfectly honest.
Okay. So I mean, I guess it was so after the pandemic. I guess I'll give you a scenario that like kind of threw me off. So after the pandemic hit, you're in your house and whatever, and then like about a month ago, I'm like, I need to see a show. I'm jonesing for a show. I've been like, you started just so like I hit up my underground network, and there was a show at this place, and it was legal and everything was so you go there, and it's just like you try to sit down and like, no, sorry, you're too close to me. And I'm like, uh, okay. And then you start dancing and the bartender's like, no, 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 you can't dance, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? This is so bizarre. It's just like, I guess, I mean, if that would be like surprising me. It's just like, yes, the downsizing of the show, but the fact of that shows just got turned on its side, and it's just so like people, it's just so neglected, and the entertainment industry as a whole is like the redheaded stepchild. Nobody's addressed, not nobody, but like it hasn't been addressed as most other industries have addressed. A lot of other industries are back up and going at some capacity, but there's no contingency plan for the entertainment industry, and it's a large portion.
So, what do you think that, people in the industry, be it, people like you on the advising side, or agencies, or the entertainers themselves, or even, like fans and supporting communities like me in the virtual space, how do we support this, what you almost, are saying is kind of like this neglected space, and getting back up on its feet again?
Well, I mean, support your local artists as usual. If you see somebody you like, or like, click on their channel, start watching them, hit the likes, start interacting. It's not just about watching them, interact with them. You see them play, comment, they're going to comment back. We want that like two-way street. It's not just about here's me performing, tell me how I'm performing, tell me what you liked about it, give them fan mail, give them, like, I mean, I guess aside from like the financial part where it's like tipping them, give them hope, give them inspiration, tell them why you like them, why are you, their fans, not just here's a couple bucks. If people in positions that want to hire them for a show, whether it be virtual or like a small thing, do it. It's just stuff like that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Hold on, wait one second. Just balancing mom life and streaming life. This is the reality we're in, y'all.
Multitasking
Freaking story of my life. I'm curious, if I could, I want to pivot really quick.
Yeah, sure.
With your reputation and your business being all about making connections, right? And that's something you and I have in common, like a passion for that.
Yeah.
And can you just tell us a little bit about, for lack of a better way, like, what does it take to make those connections, let alone in this virtual space that we're in? You can't go out and like be shaking hands and passing business cards, right? Like, it's so new.
Be human, be friendly, be the person you always are. Like, like I instantly gravitated towards you when our mutual friend Jillian, like, said, hey, you got to talk to this girl, Bree. I'm like, dude, Bree is like my new virtual best friend. She's just so awesome. But yeah, no, it's just like, just like be yourself, just like you are in a regular arena. Like, whereas I used to shake hands, talk to people, go from conversation to conversation. The one thing that like I miss about those like networking meetings, or whereas like you could talk in one conversation, excuse yourself, walk across the room, talk to another person. You can hit up 20, 30 people in one time. But while you're connecting via, the internet, it's going to be more lag time, and you're going to have to pick and choose how and when. But, just, as I always said, you don't have to talk to everybody, but who you click with, continue the relationship with them, because that's the most important thing, and that's what grows it. Because you're gonna go insane if you meet like 100 people and try to hit up 100 of them. Maybe 75 are not really interested, or it's gonna go flat. But those who you make a solid connection with, continue that connection with. Some of the people I still talk to, I've met 10 years ago when I started doing the music industry, and I still do that. And even when the pandemic was hitting and I wasn't doing anything with my business, I was just contacting them. Hey, how are you doing? What projects are you working on? What are you up to? And, and just continue the conversation. And that's the key. Just be human above all, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, be a person, and just know that people are out there for you.
There's a lot of people that, and I've even been there, I felt this, right? Like where you're afraid to reach out. What if they say no? Or like, what if they don't respond? For me, it's like I've learned, right? That's the least they could do, right? So if they say no, they say no, right?
Screw them. Yeah, screw them. Go move on to the next. What's the population of the world? Like, it's like one person just makes a little. Who cares? That, like, it's funny. When I was a little kid, I used to be afraid to go up to people of rejection, and now doing what I do and just since college, this is like, screw rejection. I like who I am. If they don't like me, screw it. Somebody else will like me. So just move on. That one person is not going to make or break your life. Just leave it be. Don't be rude to them, but just be like, all right, I don't need you in my life.
No, it's funny when you mentioned like going back to college. It makes me think early on in my career and how much has changed over like 15 years, like looking back on the you then and the you now, and how far you've come. So it segues me into another question I have. What is one or two things that you wish you had known back then when you first started your career? Because we do have some people that are just starting out, or they're pivoting into a new realm or a new chapter of their career.
So which personally or career wise, as far as career wise,
yeah.
I wish I knew I wish I knew the information that I knew then, like, because I didn't go to school for music. I had no idea of the field. I wish I was prepped in the how-to of the music industry, because I just got thrown into it. And I'm like, I guess I got to learn this on my own. So I had to ask a million different people, and I aligned myself with not the correct people at the beginning. And, I would say just do a little homework on what you're doing, and check your resources. Ask people about that person that you're going to interact with, that's going to take you to the next level. And that's the most important thing that I wish I knew when I was starting, because I fell on my face a lot of times and I realized, wow, that was like the absolute wrong person I should be dealing with.
We're all obviously like not perfect, as much success as we have. Would you be willing to share what one of those like biggest failures and oh shit, I really wish that I had done that differently moments have been, that the rest of us could maybe learn from, some takeaways from that experience, without throwing anyone's names in the industry under the bus? I mean, you can though if you want. I'm not gonna stop you.
I couldn't do that. Okay. So when I was like first starting out, I worked with a promoter that will remain nameless, and I didn't know how the pay scale worked, and I didn't know how to charge artists or this or that. And I did a couple of my own shows and gauged, and it was like, I don't know if this is working. Then I followed his or her routine, and it was like really cutting. Like, it was basically for every 10 people that come in, you get X amount of money, and it wasn't fair to the artist. And I'm a very I'm a very giving person, and I was using this model that was just so skewed, and I'm like, this feels so wrong and I don't like it. But this is how they are telling me that the industry is run, and that's how it goes. And when I started like learning about this person, they weren't favorable among artists, and I'm like, yeah, wow, that sucks. And like I felt bad for the artist I booked because it kind of like it was like rough times, but some of them didn't play anymore, and then others understood, and I kind of just did my own thing and created my own path.
Yeah, you definitely have a really unique skill set, I know, and you have like epically like crazy big network when it comes to finding someone for just about anything and everything.
Mm,
We have some music artists in here, also some people in the film industry, and there can be a lot of correlation with kind of what makes an artist in general, stand out above the rest. And
mm.
what have you noticed with what you're doing with Covert Connector and being so deep in the thick of it all? Uh, that you've seen of what people can do to leverage this very, very competitive industry? How do they stand out? What do they need to do to dominate it? I mean, to be honest.
Okay, so the best thing is, like as I always say, personality, personality, personality. Don't say, if you see a page, it's just like person's picture, here's my show, person's picture, show here, show here, show there. Don't do that. Tell a story. Take a picture of you and your cat. Have a video you going shopping with your mom. Do Get a story. If you like drafts, have a picture of draft on your page, and let them into your world. When you're performing, put on a great show, but let them into your world. Make them feel like it's not just a TV show, because you're a performer. You're putting on a show. I don't want to say you're the product, but yeah, you are the product. They're buying you. They're not buying some canned routine, and they don't want to see like you saying, here's my show, here's my show, here's my show. They want to see the show. They want to feel the show. When COVID wasn't thing and you went to an actual show, you had the five senses around you. You got to see the show, hear the show, and just all that stuff. And it was magical if you were a great performer. And if you're a performer, don't stand still, move around within the parameters of what you are. And each like performer has a different personality and persona, and play that persona. If and make that persona that part of you, whether it's the same as you are as a person or this different on stage, but be that person that you should be. Don't just be a blank slate, and don't just promote yourself endlessly because you want people, yeah.
I'm obsessed with this answer. Got into a really awesome conversation and actually like another group. I might not get the order right, but it's like this coaches, authors, and speakers group or something. I'm totally down to drop it in the comments. But there is a great thread that was going on about speakers and like being on stage, right?
Mhm.
And very similar to like the entertainers in the virtual space. And what you're talking about right now about that performance and connecting with the audience, not just being like this talking head, and really just giving that energy across, that authenticity and that passion, like no matter what, because they've invested to be there, right? Like time, money, energy to show up for you. And it's like you got to give it 110%. And that 100%, I agree. It just totally makes you stand out.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you brought it up. I want to are you down if I bring on one of our members, Daniel Abramson, who has he's in the industry. He has like some questions for you. Are you guys down to do
we,
that live?
let's do it. I had a quick conversation with him the other week, but yeah,
Yes.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Fuck yeah. All right. I'm gonna
Oh,
Daniel, I'm gonna DM him a Zoom link, and then while we wait for him to get into the Zoom room, I'll keep an eye out. You're just willing to share, and I'm happy to like type anything into the chat while we wait for Daniel to hop on. Some just any sort of like resources, or like what ways are you keeping up to speed and staying ahead of things right now in the virtual space? Because,
And
oh, I'm so about to cut you off. Daniel just hopped in so
yeah,
fucking
he's
fast.
quick. Do you want me to like get on like I mean yeah, I could. I mean, I have a lot of resources I could give you. I mean, but yeah, I'll tell you later. We'll go over this later.
I know, right? Hold on. I mean, Daniel didn't even skip a beat. It's like, never mind, hold the phone. Daniel,
I'll,
whenever you get hooked up to audio and like your camera going, we'll get you all tuned in here. Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3, my man.
Hey, Bree, how's it going?
You guys, all right, I am going to turn my camera off, mute myself for a little bit, and let you guys kind of have some epic conversation going for a minute here.
go ahead.
Sound good? Awesome.
Nice to see you, Brian. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you too. I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Friday.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, no, thanks for hopping on this call. And yeah, you know a little bit about me, kind of doing similar things in terms of just working with artists. And yeah, I'm kind of curious like how your workflow has been in the pandemic, especially working very closely with artists. Thing that I like see myself a lot with nowadays is trying to be really specific with, the artists, trying to figure out exactly what they need help with. And I think for me, the biggest thing is like sustainable business, about like how are they able to monetize and grow. And in the age now that we're in with content, it's just about continuing to grow the brand. But I'm curious, like what you advise artists overall, especially in these times when it comes to just growing their business.
Like as I was saying, Bree, build your image above all. Monetize on the streaming capabilities, and as we all know, it's a hard industry in general for anybody to gain traction just because of everything going on and the negligence. There's no hard answer of yes, you should do this or you shouldn't do this. It's a learning curve right now, and we're all learning together. But it's very important to just try different things, because the beauty of right now is we're setting, as messed up as things are, we set the rules right now. We're on an even playing ground. Even the people who had like tons of money, maybe not the A-list, but the B-listers are right where we are, and they're trying to figure out things too. So try, if you have an idea, go with it, run with it, because it could work. It's something that you want to try and you think it's going to be different, do it. I've seen a lot of new streaming things pop up where they do different showcases. You could do like satellite shows, have themes for shows, make it fun, make it different, make it real. Stop doing the generic perform and just perform. Do stuff that makes the performance unique. Do performances with props and ideas, maybe make it more theatrical.
Definitely. Yeah, 100% agree with you. I think now more than ever, it's about continuing to give content to users that you're already and fans that you've already engaged with, so that they stay engaged with your fan base, especially when you have those, what I'd consider hard ass, like buying merch or, eventually like going to a show, but basically supporting them as much as you can. And then you have people creating like these new avenues. For me, at least, I think TikTok is definitely the place that I'm seeing it the most, where people are really able to express their creativity to the fullest, and they're able to try different things. Because the beautiful thing about TikTok is there's so many different avenues that you can go on within TikTok, and there's always a niche that some people would enjoy, as long as you targeting the content properly. And I could think of several examples that I'm seeing people really killing it in the TikTok space, that they're able to convert over to their other socials, and it's all content based at the end of the day. I am curious if you think of any artists in particular that you admire that are doing really well in the COVID times in terms of giving that, content value to their fans and generating new fans because of that content as well.
I mean, honestly, I've kind of neglected the major artists, but I mean, I forget who did it, but somebody did a show on Fortnite. They they basically got together with Fortnite and they performed within the show, and it hopped on that. I forget who it was. But I've been so focused on just like indie artists right now that I haven't been seeing what the other artists are doing in the world. But it's I mean, I know like Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters. I know he's really always on target with that. He has like artists sending him like videos of like and contests and things like that. And that's another thing an artist could do. Just do contests, do fun contests. Have your fans bring you something and give them a merch or like a personalized song to them or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I completely agree with you where now we're in that stage where you have to continue to do creative things as long as it's really on brand with the artist.
Right.
Contests are a great way that they're doing that. And what's great about platforms like TikTok is, now more than ever, you can even take where a lot of the major artists are continuing to grow their fan bases, but you're also seeing a lot of other smaller artists utilizing the platform really well by doing something we call objectively unique in terms of just giving really interesting content that's going to keep the viewer there. And fortunately, that's led to like a lot of people, just growing their brands over time. So it's definitely something that independent artists can utilize if they understand the platform well and also the story that they want to tell. And from all the artists that I know you work with, they're all talented in their own right. So definitely a really awesome avenue to explore if they have the capacity and I guess like willingness to be able to work the platform as effectively as possible, since it is such a trial and error kind of platform.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, and and it gets very in depth in the whole virtual world of like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. There's so much in depth. I'm going to answer Bree's question in a resource that people should use that is phenomenal. Her name is Leah McHenry, and it's The Savvy Musician. She has a podcast, and she did this years ago. She never toured. She's a stay-at-home mom of 5 kids. And she basically became a internet sensation as an artist, and she like learned really how to monetize and monopolize the virtual world. So I mean, if Bree's muted, so hopefully she'll find that link. And I think people should listen to her podcast. I do that all the time, and she's just brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, there's so many people innovating nowadays within, the virtual event space, and that's what you have to do. I mean, I think at least for me with artists, like the live aspect is so important, but when you're not able to do that, you have to really be able to recreate that experience in some way or continue to give good content. And I know like yourself and even myself, like the artists I work with, they're all talented in their own respect. And it's about kind of showing that in the best way possible to keep people engaged, because you're right, like the live experience isn't exactly the same if you're not there, but you're able to recreate aspects in a unique perspective that you might not get from actually being there. And sometimes you could do some really interesting things, especially with video content that you're editing beforehand, that really amplifies the content strategy behind the artist and overall builds their brand and keeps their fans engaged, with at least for me is the number one thing that artists need to be doing now so that they can continue to monetize over time.
I totally agree with you. For example, if you have like an EDM artist and they're very good at visualization, they could have some trippy images come across and put up like GIFs and just like all different things, and to their branding, and you just have that music fade in and out, and it would just be a great visual experience. Whereas like I used to go to EDM shows all the time at like, and you see that. So recreate that experience in a virtual realm where people could just sit and just bug out to like your music and the videos coming across the screen.
Exactly. And that creates the experience level. And even like your whole business being on connecting, it's like you can have somebody maybe in that space that can make that come to life and connect with an artist in that way, which again is what's so great about the collaboration of music in general. I know like a thing that I always ask artists is like, basically, how can I make your vision come to life? And it's about like just knowing people that can do that and whatever medium that is, so that you can show the best product possible, because it is still like a product at the end of the day, but it's content strategy which engages the fans. And when you're able to connect people like that, which is what I think is so unique about your business, then you're able to really amplify that person's content. And that, I think now more than ever, being in the pandemic era, is the most crucial part to sustaining and being an artist and now in today's real economy.
For sure. Like whenever I like take on an artist, my favorite question is, aside from money, what do you want? And that always gauges how I, approach their style and their thing. And, it tells a lot about an artist on what non-monetary item that they want from their career. And then you could build a whole plan based on that and, see what their personal likes and things are like that.
Definitely, 100%. And now more than ever, content is king, and it's about the short content that's doing well, which is why TikTok, I'll always go back to it, is like, that's why people are able to build brands, because once something really hits in an algorithm, as long as it's objectively a good piece of content and you're framing it right, then it could go viral. And that's something that you don't even see on a lot of these other platforms that are older, because it's more of, an ad driven model in their business.
Sure. Yeah,
Facebook, again, like you said, Facebook being one of those where they don't care about organic reach as much, where I know artists that, long time ago, they used to do so well organically, but now it's like you have to boost posts and spend money, where TikTok, that's not the case.
Well, basically with Facebook is they would prefer conversations over like streaming. So they want people to just have engaging back and forth with each other. That's why they kind of cut out the whole like music and streaming thing. They basically like, there's this whole big misconstrue of like, oh, why is Facebook doing this? Or like, basically it's their mission statement was, we want to create community. We want to create people having a dialect about something. Their mission statement wasn't let's stream music. There are other places that are for that, and you as artists have to figure out what they are, or you come to people like us and we'll do the research and we'll get those avenues for you, because it's a new world. There's a lot of new places that are coming out and it should be explored. And you don't have to have these like powerhouse companies anymore. You could use anything out there that seems that gonna last, and if it picks up and you're with that, then you're golden.
Exactly. Totally agree with you. We're in the era where it is possible for the artist to have power. I think the biggest thing, which is why, people like you and me have successes in businesses like these, are because we know what it takes to put that together. Having a really strong team is important, or at least having good, goals in mind where you can get there, because a lot of times with any type of entertainers, and this isn't just music, but people of influence that are trying to put out a product or content, they have to showcase it in the right way and get the right people involved. And a lot of times that involves that collaboration, or properly using social networks to push that content. And of course, creating the content where, people would want to actually consume what you're making. So all that is, super crucial. And now more than ever, things are popping up, such as TikTok, or even now, things like Reels and, other content platforms, which you're able to utilize in very effective ways to push out the content that you're making. And there's different content strategies behind those to push them out effectively. Because at the end of the day, if it's good content, it should go to the right people.
Right. And then you have then within your regional location, there are people who stream and they do these things as companies. They you might not be able, they're not known from like a large region, but if you research into where you're living, somebody does live streaming and somebody has like the know-how and the capability, and they're doing this for artists in your community. I know several in my community that do this, where I could be like, hey, I have some artists, I'll swing your way and do a stream with them. And it's just like, it's not only those big companies that are like mega. There's like a lot of people who do exactly what you need. The problem is artists in general don't have access or knowledge how to find this, or who to reach out to and where to do that. And that's where people like me and you come into play, or Bree or something like that. They could say, hey, where do I find this item for my like my company, for my brand, for me to excel at doing what I do best. And it sucked when like I like you can't go to concerts anymore, and it just sucks. I miss them so much, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a, an interesting feel to that, but you're totally right. I mean, that's what people who connect and just know people in the industry have to do. I mean, now more than ever, it's easier more than ever to get signed or get some sort of distribution deal, but it's about creating a brand, and part of that coming from creating a brand is doing a lot of these creative ideas because you have to stand out. I know from research that I help out at a friend at Universal doing this exact stuff. What they're looking for is like, what are the trends? How are they growing? And part of how you have to grow is like, what are you doing musically and content wise that's making you stand out and showing up on like the radar of A&Rs. Like obviously like there's got to be talent and it has to kind of align with how their company can push you and they have to see a future for it, but it all comes down to like, how are you doing that? And people like you, for example, having all these avenues and knowing like you should do this, you should do this, it's so crucial in terms of whether you decide you want to be signed or not, or you even want to be in that position where the industry knows you. All that's really effective, because just having a name in it is good, because even if you decide, hey, I don't want to sign, like if you're big enough or you're growing enough, I mean, you might get other opportunities,
Right.
you might be on the radar of other people.
And honestly, there's pros and cons to being signed or not being signed. It depends on
Definitely.
the artist themselves, because being signed for one artist might be phenomenal, but for another artist, it's not worth the effort. And you have to be able to decipher that for the best of your future as an artist.
Definitely. 100%. Every artist, it's different, and it's about shaping that story. And at least like my philosophy, and I think you're definitely aligned with that too, is like the artist has to do what's best for them, and they have to stay very much on brand with what they want to do, not
For
give up
sure.
any integrity,
Right.
which is one of the things with labels sometimes is an issue. But the better you are and the better you position yourself with people, you have a lot more playing cards when even, let's say a label wants to sign you or shows interest. It's like the more you have, it's like the more it's like, well, why do I need you? So you have more power in that position if that is what you decide you want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But very cool. Yeah, I wanted to see if anybody had any questions or anything. But this has been a great talk.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just over here like dropping GIF from Step Brothers as like you
Yeah, I
two
saw
becoming
that.
best friends.
Very cool.
Like that's what's happening right now, 100%.
Yeah.
No,
This
it was so awesome. It was just that was such rich content, like going back and forth between the two of you guys, especially because I know you guys are totally aligned with like your philosophy and your approach with your business in the industry, and so it was just great. It was fantastic. Kristen, one of our group members, she's awesome. Her name's Kristen. She's so digging this right now, and she's just dropping a ton of comments. What do you think about this? She said just now, a lot of artists have lost out on their royalties because they didn't read the fine print. And she's talking about how there's more to just being signed up. As an artist, you have to check the pros and cons of the contract. Is what she was chiming in. So it's good. It's super helpful. I'm curious. So do you guys think that artists are still going to be able to leverage this virtual space? Like we have, with music festivals, right? I had a conversation about this today. We're not going to be having like the 500,000 person audience in NOLA for their annual jazz festival anytime soon, right? We're not going to have like South by Southwest in person. They're pivoting. They're doing all virtual in March. Lollapalooza did virtual. Everyone did it. Outside Lands. So it's going to be that way for a while. I think so. I personally find it very unlikely when we can't even have our kids go to school that 500,000 people or a stadium is going to be full anytime soon for a concert, right?
Well, no, not at all.
So what do you think? I want to hear.
I was thinking on an innovative concept because
I want to hear.
Like, okay, so usually when you have a concert, you have a big hall, you have thousands of people. So why not have multiple venues with the same, in the same general region, and have like 30 or 40 people at this venue, 30 or 40 this venue across town, and have like a streaming thing over one broadcasting station and say, hey, here's this show just like when you see the ball drop, at Times Square, coming from this area, that area, why can't you do that in such a small increment? And, this way, you have little like splinters of this one festival. So you have like an umbrella festival, in wherever it is. And then you have one little showcase in this part of town, one little showcase 5 miles in this part of town, and have it all in part of like one, one thing. Like Lollapalooza can be this big festival, but there are small mini festivals based on that going at the same day, same time. And maybe, hey, you could chime in virtually to somebody at the next station. You could do something like that. But it's just like, I mean, obviously you work out the kinks, but why can't you do something like that? Why can't you have little stuff like that?
That I can absolutely see, like 100%, because that is like you're going down to this micro level, with all these different experiences, and then incorporating the hybrid, like you're talking about, right? Having the streaming opportunity for people. So like, let's say it's in New York, all right, which like endless venues you could do, endless like different ways you could get creative to do exactly what you're describing. But if I can't like come out and see, you have the option where like I could tune in virtually, whether it's like an app like Limelight or it's streaming on YouTube, whatever that's going to look like. So I'm all for kind of what you're describing as like these little pockets and all these things happening simultaneously. What I mean is the festivals that like we were accustomed to in the structure that they were, like Coachella.
It's never going to be the same. It's no matter what happens, no matter going on, it's going to be totally different. We're in a transition phase, and we're figuring that out right now. They tried the drive-in shows. They tried the ones with it didn't work. I mean, there's stuff that goes up in Pennsylvania. I mean, there are things, but we're tweaking it as it goes right now, and it's not gonna, nothing's gonna, really meander its way until we figure it out. And the biggest thing is you need think groups. You need like 3 or 4 or whatever, 6 brilliant minds working together, because you can't come to this conclusion on yourself. You have to bounce back and forth ideas, say, hey, here's the core of my idea. Okay, Bree, what do you think about that? Okay, and then be like, and then you work out this brilliant idea between that group, and then you have something to post on thing, just like the networking thing. It's teamwork, it's communication, and it's building upon new and innovative things that we're in a new time. We're in a time where we could create our own future. And instead of being depressed, instead of being angry, instead of whatever, just be innovative. And that's kind of what I would say.
Definitely. Yeah, to add on to that, these festivals are huge money makers at the end of the day. And the one thing about the consumer is, more than ever, experience is an enormous part of it. So festivals are going to figure out, the ideal virtual way to bring that experience to the home, whether it be through live streaming or, something maybe partnering with a TV network or whatever it might be. They're going to figure it out to do that. One thing that I'm thinking that will happen more and more is, like, you've seen where people are starting to live stream their shows and do some sort of like concerts on even like Netflix. Like Beyonce did one where she only accepted, X amount less than Ariana Grande, but then she got to film the event and make it into a TV thing. And then she got paid, I think it was like $5 or $6 million just for that. Obviously that's a big example, but people still want that aspect. Like, music isn't going away. If anything, it's growing more and more, and people still want the immersive experience, and they're going to do whatever they need to be able to do that, because the demand is still there. And I think more than ever, the demand might even be higher since there's less events. So they're going to do whatever they need to and invest whatever they need to do that, since there's some things that they won't have to invest as much in, such as like, festival insurance is like a big thing, and, other things like other people have to pay. Like, yeah, they won't get the ticket sales won't be the same, but there's a lot of other, negatives that go along with this kind of business model that they'll be able to expand upon and do whatever they need to do so that they can have that part of their business still work in some capacity.
So I always reference this movie because I just love this movie in general, and it had a brilliant concept. Nick and Nora's playground. They basically had secret shows where they found hints and stuff like that, where, oh, this show's here, that show's there, and they followed the clues. So if you did something virtually and live with clues virtually, and not show where this location was, and then the last day before, but hey, we only have 20 tickets, it's just and you could do these things, but the major issue, as the powers that be are really, strangling our footholds on allowing us to, do what we want to do. And that's that's kind of the major issue with the problem. The problem is not that we're, thinking this thing. The problem is we need to have a dialect with the people who run each state, the people who are in charge of your county, your town, and, be like, listen, this is ridiculous. Music, entertainment can go on. It can go on safely. It can continue, and it's a key role in keeping people's sanity. It's been here since the dawn of time. It takes people away from the craziness. What do you do when you're just happy, sad, angry, emotion? You want to feel emotion. You want to turn on music. You want to watch a shit TV show. You want to go to a theater. When you want to experience culture, it's that it emulates what we're feeling. And how can you strip that away from people? How can you strip that away? What do you want us to do? Go to work, sit in our house, and be miserable?
Definitely. So it'll definitely be an interesting challenge, and see how they do it. But I think they're gonna figure it out. Like, people are still gonna do something to have that kind of experience, even if it's not the same.
That was awesome. So much good stuff. I was trying to drop stuff as much as like I could in the comments and stuff. That was great. I have a couple things like that I want to direct to Brian, because we're like hitting that hour. But Daniel, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, contributing, the two of you guys going back and forth. I don't know if you have anything else. I know you and Brian could, like, three of us could totally take it offline too. But I don't know if you have anything else like you want to throw out there, you want to ask Brian while we're all on together.
No, nothing in particular. Definitely a great conversation, and I look forward to staying connected with him and working with him on something. But no, I really appreciate the invite. And it was great to officially meet you virtually, Brian.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
In the world of virtual events.
Yep.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. I'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thanks, man. So, because we are over the hour mark, I just want to circle back, before Daniel came on, about just if you'd be willing to share some like resources. Where do you turn to, just keep up with trends, to stay ahead of the curve? How are you staying on top of your game in this industry all these years?
Okay, like I was saying to Daniel, there's The Savvy Musician by Leah McHenry. She has a podcast. It's phenomenal. It goes from A to Z on everything, interviews, things like that. She's just insanely great. And other, I've just been really just going back and forth with different people, keeping up on, as hard, as annoying as it sounds, just following Facebook feeds and reading people's articles. And I do look for different things, and I have a Facebook group that I run called Covert Connector Connections, where I'll post links of interesting things I find, or this or that. There's what else do I have that I do? There's the Rockstar Advocate is another businesswoman who is really good at what she does. Her name is Suze. She's a mindset coach. She has a podcast as well. You go to her site, you'll be able to, see everything that goes on, and she keeps you up to date on things. Who else is good off the top of my head?
I just dropped your group also in the comments, which will be a great resource,
right,
as well. So that's great.
And honestly, if anybody wants to hit me up, I'll we could chat. I'll give them advice on how to go, where to go, and we can see from there. I mean, like I said, it's best guide individuals, because every individual has, different needs. So what might not work for one might work for somebody else. Yeah.
That's perfect. That was the last question I was going to ask, was how our members can connect with you online. If you're comfortable with them shooting you a friend request, a DM, whether, Facebook, Instagram, what's the best way to reach you?
I have Instagram, I have Facebook, Covert Connector. I more apt to answer Facebook than I am Instagram, but I do Instagram as well. You could go on my personal page. Whatever works. Email, contact Covert Connector. Okay. I have a mailing list that I could give, and I send out bi-monthly emails to people, just updating them on what's going on.
Awesome. I just dropped that all in the comment thread. There's a lot of stuff there. That was super helpful. That's all I got for my questions. Thank you for staying over time. I know it's later where you are too, so really, really, really appreciate your time. If there's anything else, you want to leave everyone with as some takeaways before we, get off the live, please do feel free.
Wow, takeaways. I always
know, right?
But it's takeaway.
Come on.
Yeah, okay. I guess, as I was saying, don't let these times get you down. No matter how hard it is, no matter how rough you have it, be optimistic, above all, because we've gone through a lot in these past couple months, and it's been hard, but we've survived, we've managed. There are, just so many things going on. We've experienced so many things in our past in general as humankind. Just don't get each other's throats. Be good to each other. Work with each other on being people and your projects, and things will prosper. Things will happen. There's always an up. As far down as you are, there's always an up.
That was a perfect way to end it. I think we need that reminder sometimes. It's definitely has not been easy at all. So thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Bree.
Thanks. And thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Daniel, Kristen, everyone that's been dropping in the comments. And, when you guys come on, it's always great. Feel free to reach out to Brian if you want to connect with him, if you want to keep the conversation going. Please drop in the comments if you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, some of those great takeaways that you got from this. And anything else, you want to contribute. That is why we are here as a part of this community. So again, thank you and have a good night, everybody.
All right.